What is going on, Babylonians? It's me, Songs of Rage, back with another Outriders video to bring to you, and today we're going to be looking at the revisit to our Scorpion build that we did a few months back, and the changes in New Horizon have actually favoured it quite well, so it's actually worth bringing this back and taking out a new mod interaction that actually works and really does help out. Now this the Scorpion build initially, well, I wouldn't have necessarily trusted it to be able to do like Eye of the Storm solo or anything like that, but with the current change and with the current mods that we have available to us, it easily performs well enough to be able to solo Eye of the Storm, to be able to solo Hammer, the guy that's the secret boss for City of Nomads, all that kind of stuff. It basically handles everything, and even though the footage you're going to see in the background is solo, you will actually see this build on one of our streams as well, because it genuinely decimated like pretty much mobs in front of its way and bosses alike, and it just has a survivability to be able to do everything that you need. So without a doubt, let's get into the build, let's have a quick look as to what's going on, and make sure you have hit that like and that subscribe button just to really help the channel out. Catch you in a bit. Alright then, so let's get into the build, let's get into the gear, what makes it so strong, and then we'll also throw in some gameplay as well afterwards. So let's have a quick look, and let's have a look at the stats. So my main thing is using a Funeral Pyre. Now I did manage to get a 99.3k drop at the same time on stream as Dan, and the Funeral Pyre is the best gun to be able to use for this kind of thing. One, because of the really nice stats it has with like the extra additional kind of healing received and the close range damage. The crit damage is not going to be important on this whatsoever, so we can just ignore that whatsoever. So what it comes with is Shadow Comet as standard, and that shots call down a comet dealing 231,004 damage to enemies within a 3.5 meter radius. So not only does this have single target damage, it also has the AoE that we know it needed to do, and the fact that it's on a shotgun means that if we hit more than one person with it, means we're calling down more than one comet, which means we're dealing a lot more damage when it comes to it. We've then put Claymore Torrent on top of this, where shots damage 4 enemies within a 6 meter radius with anomaly blades, dealing 207,613 damage, and this refreshes every 2 seconds. So it would have been nice if the mods did actually match up, but the fact is we've got something that refreshes a little bit quicker and allows us to be able to put out a little bit more DPS. Now Claymore Torrent also does single target damage as well as AoE, as you can tell from the shots damaging 4 enemies, and it works really nicely on a shotgun again, because just like Shadow Comet, each enemy that you are hit with this means you're summoning more, an additional 4 blades to be able to come down. So if you hit 4 enemies, you're summoning 4 comets and 16 claymore blades to be able to hit enemies, and it is absolutely stunning, especially when you can witness it in kind of in person, especially when it's going. The best way to be able to do this is because the damage is purely anomaly based. We want to go for some kind of debuff. We want to go for something that allows us to be able to group enemies together so we can get the majority of the damage done just like that. Now you can go for a seismic, but I do feel like that is a wasted opportunity. I do think that if you want to go for something debuff, you want to go for something that's going to maximize the maximum amount of damage that this mod is going to deal, you want to go for a Marshall set. Now I've gone for a 3-piece with the Marshals, and then one purple in there just to be able to help us out with anomaly power, and then lastly we've gone for the Seismic Commander's leg armor, just because it gives us tainted blood, and that it gives us another multiplier to be able to add on top of it. So not only are we debuffing, we're also buffing our damage at the same time. So Marshall's helmet, standard, anomaly power, cooldown reduction, skills, life leech, absolutely perfect, the things that we need for this build. It comes with the tier 3 of Wide Horizons, increasing the skills radius by 25%, so we can gather in more enemies to be able to obviously hit with our shotgun, our single shotgun blast, to be able to summon all those blades and all those comets. And we've also gone for double jump, just to be able to give Gravity Leap a second use before we go into cooldown, which is very nice, especially when your Endless Mass is on cooldown. When we've gone for the Marshal's armor, also anomaly power cooldown, skills, life leech, perfect. High intensity means that anomaly damage against enemies that have been pulled or affected is increased by 33% for 5 seconds. Absolutely perfect mod. That's one debuff that we're already applying, and technically you can get away with just this debuff. I've managed to pull it off several times, where I just want to stand kind of like medium distance, so my shotgun has actually got like very nice spread. And you've just pulled in a group together. You can get away with just this, or you can take it the next step further, which we'll get into in a second with the other mods. And we've also gone for second quake, because the skill can be activated one more time before triggering the cooldown, so we actually have a second earthquake. Very nice. When we've gone for the Seismic Commander's leg armor, we've gone for tainted blood, obviously because we want to deal additional damage for the bleed, and we've also gone for blood shock, so that our earthquakes, even though they're on quick cooldowns, can inflict bleed to be able to benefit from that over and over again. We've gone for the kind of purple gloves you you can mix this up with anything you want, but you at the very least you want some kind of cooldown reduction and you want some anomaly power. Preferably, I would like some additional skills life leech, as I have done for the marshals, but I haven't been able to find that kind of role for me just yet. So it's gone for ground crush, where we increase the base damage for earthquake by 84,000, and Captain Hunter to be able to increase our damage to elites by 25%. The more multipliers, better. And it was a toss up of maybe even keeping Captain Hunter or having a third earthquake, but I do feel like you kind of need a little bit extra just to be able to help out with elites. So this is the way I've gone for that. But feel free to change that out and go for a third earthquake if you feel that's better. And then lastly, we've gone for Marshal's footgear, where we've gone for despair, which is the other debuff that we're kind of putting onto all the enemies and all that. So every single time we do a gravity leap, all those enemies that have been hit by that receive 2 times more anomaly damage for the next 5 seconds, and then bleed them all, where Endless Mass inflicts bleed on enemies pulled by the skill. Now, the reason why I wanted to go for that is because obviously it then works with Tainted Blood, and it also helps with our keeping ourselves alive as well, because the more enemies afflicted with blood or bleed means that the more healing that we've actually got coming in as well. The other mods that are definitely notable that you can definitely use would be Vulnerable, inflicted on Endless Mass as well. And if you can find some a role, if you want to replace any of these kind of extra mods on there, by all means get Vulnerable on there, because then that means your mods are dealing even more damage and you don't have to rely on Despair. If we go from there into the skills, we've gone for Earthquake, very quick cooldown on 6 seconds, Endless Mass 10.6 seconds, and Gravity Leap on 10.5 seconds. So Earthquake is going to be your main damage dealer when it comes to skills, to be able to keep yourself alive, and just inflicting bleed to be able to keep your heals going. Endless Mass is obviously the main reason why we're going for the mods, and then Gravity Leap is the main debuff that we're going to be applying as well on top of that. If we go from there into class tree, very standard, very basic, bleed, Devastator, it just makes the most sense to be able to go for this, and that means obviously we're picking up more anomaly power all the way through, which is absolutely perfect. At the end, we're increasing our base damage by 50% for our Earthquake, so we actually do have some kind of damage dealer when we don't have the debuffs. We're picking up some resistance piercing, which also helps out to be able to deal more anomaly damage through to the enemies as well. And then lastly, we're picking up additional armor based on our anomaly power, but we're also picking up the blood donation to be able to increase our healing, because we don't have any innate healing when it comes to this kind of build. So because of all the bleed that we're dealing and the amount of enemies that we're expecting to be able to inflict with bleed, blood donation is just perfect for this, and it just means that we can get spec for our bleeds to be able to inflict a little bit more damage. Now, what you could do if you really wanted to is you can go into the melee instead, and that means you can pick up like Strong Arm of the Anomaly, and you can pick up Strong Arm of the Law. It's not a bad shout, it's just not the way I wanted to be able to go with this. I just feel like this is the best way to be able to do that. Lastly, why are we not picking up Paladin? Why are we not picking up anything to increase our anomaly power by like 45%? I personally feel like getting all the multipliers, all the damage multipliers when it comes to like Tainted Blood, Captain Hunter, all those kind of things. We've only got the one skill that's going to be inflicting damage, and that's our Earthquake, but even then that's not our primary damage dealer. It's purely going to be based on our gun, so therefore we don't need to worry about increasing our anomaly power anymore, because it already does a decent amount of damage in the first place, and then our gun mods do not get increased by anomaly power. So that's the reason why I've gone for those, and yeah, this was a pretty solid build overall. You've got a lot of survivability, got a lot of healing, got a lot of damage. It's perfect. Now, just to really show off the full utility that this build actually has, what I wanted to do was show you a couple of quick clips where I'm able to solo Harbinger Hammer, and I'm also able to solo Eye of the Storm. And I feel like those are the real milestones that you really want to aim for when you find a build, to know if you can actually handle it, like all the content that basically this game can actually throw at yourself, especially if it's all done solo and done on CT15s, which is always designed for in terms of like group play. Now, when it came to Harbinger Hammer, it was a bit difficult because he kind of resisted every single time that you use Endless Mass, so you can't rely on that debuff, and you can't rely on using him as like a conduit to be able to bring people in, to be able to kind of deal all that extra additional damage that your martial gear set and the Endless Mass and all that's going to actually deal. So it means that you can't reliably be able to summon down more than one comet. It means you can't reliably use Claymore Torrent to more than one effect on every single cooldown, but there are ways to be able to get around it. So in the initial start, you are able to activate 2 despairs, which means that you are like doubling your anomaly damage, so that's quite nice. So that kind of helps make up for it, and it does a really decent chunk of his health off every single time you've got a cooldown of that. The other ways to be able to get around it are the minions that he actually does summon in. If you actually kind of like do one that's near your location and then kite around, you can then actually get him so he's nearby, and then when you summon it to be able to hit more than one enemy that have all been pulled in by the Endless Mass, it means that he's going to get impacted by the comets, he's going to get impacted by the Claymore Torrent, and that helps to deal all that additional damage. And it's just little ways of that. It's about controlling the battlefield. It's about picking your shots when it comes to Harbinger Hammer. When it comes to Yagak though, it was a little bit harder, and it's basically the same kind of story as well. So Yagak basically resists every single time you try to Endless Mass him. When it comes to the orbs, they always resist Endless Mass. You can't turn those into any kind of like rocks. They always ignore most of your skill damage as well, so they also don't trigger the mods as well. So, but they can be damaged by them. So the way to get around those is if you're getting swamped by orbs, you can either go full on just actually like shooting them, or you can actually use your Endless Mass on some of the mobs that are going to be coming your way. And then when you use the Endless Mass and they all get summoned, and the orbs are nearby, they'll get impacted by the Shadow Comet, and they'll pretty much get wiped out in one single hit. It's a very nice way of being able to deal with those and being able to get those out the way. When it comes to the Reavers though, the Reavers are probably the ones I had the most difficulty with, but because this is a Devastator, you pretty much get away, you can get around these pretty much every single time. They're quite easy to be able to take down as a Devastator with these mods, and basically you just want to hit them with Earthquake. Earthquake seems to stagger them. While they're bleeding, you just hit them with the weapon mods. It does more than enough damage, and then after like about 2 or 3 cooldowns, they're pretty much done. You can use your Despair and your Gravity Leap. You can use your Gravity Leap to be able to get away from all their leaping that they're doing. You can also use it as a way to be able to heal. And like I said, if you then land on them and you then impact them and then use your weapon mods, you're going to be taking them down a lot quicker. So Reavers are basically nothing to worry about in this, and Eye of the Storm is pretty much a breeze when it comes to this. The only thing you have to worry about is the initial timings, because obviously you're standing on top of the plates, you're standing, all these enemies are trying to get close to you, and when it comes to a Devastator, you kind of want to be up close. It's a bit difficult to be able to obviously keep them at bay, but Endless Mass is a great tool to be able to pull enemies away from you, be able to pull them away from the plates, all that kind of good thing. So you have all the tools you need to be able to solo Eye of the Storm with this. I genuinely do believe that, and if you are looking to be able to get that last accolade, and it's to solo Eye of the Storm, I would recommend you pick up this build. It's got more than enough healing, it's got more than enough armor, and it's got more than enough tools in its toolkit to be able to deal with everything that gets thrown at you in this game. And there you have it, Babylonians. That is the Scorpion 2.0 build that I'm bringing to you, and this is easily my favourite Devastator to be able to go around playing. The buff Devastator was definitely something that held a special place in my heart, but the Scorpion is definitely my favourite and probably the strongest one that I could possibly bring to you. I obviously know that there are seismic builds out there, but I just feel like it doesn't have as much like team kind of like composition or anything like that, whereas the Marshal allows you to be able to like set up your teammates, it allows you to set up yourself, and it allows you to set up for all that kind of massive damage, especially in a team kind of play as well. So I hope you've enjoyed, I hope you pick this up, and I hope you give it a go, especially since I want to see a few people in the comment section mention they've tried taking on Eye of the Storm with this build, and just let me know all the success stories that in the comment section found down below. As always, thank you so much to the Babylonian family. Their names will be appearing at the end of the video, as they always do, and if you want to take part in that, just make sure you click that join button found down below. It starts from as little as 99p a month, and it really goes back straight into the channel and really helps us out. So from all of us here at Babylon, thank you all so much. Keep yourself safe, keep yourself well, and I'll see you all on the next video.